One of the differences between love and lust is that love submits to godly leadership and counsel, but lust is never open to godly counsel or is willing to submit to a leader. And that is what we're going to talk about in today's episode, the role of parents and mentors in dating. Most of you know that I've been doing these relationship podcasts for some time now, and I've received so many wonderful responses, feedbacks, and praise reports from people about how they've been helped in their relationships, and I'm really grateful to God for this opportunity. But one of the most frequent responses that I receive from people is this. They say, I wish somebody had told me these truths 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Now, I know that it could be genuinely possible that they did not have access to these wonderful teachings that we are listening to today, but it can also be possible that this information, these truths that we are discussing in our podcast, was very much available with their pastors, their elders, their mentors, and all the wonderful people they had in their life. And it could also be possible that they had all these truths in a book, in their own bookshelf. But maybe they were blinded by that situation they were in, or they were not open to teachings. But now they feel like if they had gotten these teachings years ago, it would have changed their lives. Friend, it is better to realize that to have mentors, elders, parents to guide us before we fall and before we regret is a much better option. We read in Proverbs 11 and verse number 14. Where there is no counsel, people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. Not just one counselor, but counselors. In the multitude of counselors, there is safety. After salvation, we all know and we agree that marriage is the most important decision that we will ever take in our lives. And why not take the input and the advice and the counsel of elders in our lives? It is important, it's actually vital. You see, Adam and Eve, when they were united in the covenant of marriage, God was involved. There was no other human being, but God was very much involved in the process. Adam made the choice, but God was in the choice. And when you read about how Abraham found a bride for his son Isaac, the elder servant was very much involved. You see, the involvement of coaches and mentors and elders and parents very much in situations where the decisions can be life changing, can be life altering. So we all need mentors, guides, counselors, coaches, however you would want to call them. We need to be thankful for the parents, the elders, the pastors, the care group leaders that we have in our lives. These brothers and sisters who have gone further than us, who really care for us and who have wisdom. They are mature in the Lord and they know the word of God. They know the principles of wisdom and they can see further than what we can see. We need to be grateful for these people in our lives. And when it comes to dating, we've got to involve them, take their input and, receive their advice and listen to their counsel. It can really be the difference between life and death, my friend. Now, firstly, who are mentors or coaches? Mentors and coaches are those who know the way, they go the way, and they show the way. They can be our parents, our elders, our pastors, and brothers and sisters in our fellowship in church. See, it does not have to be that they should be very aged and should be old, because age does not guarantee wisdom. But we've got to make sure that they are in the Lord and they care for us, they are full of wisdom, and they can help us see things in a clear way that we cannot when we are in a relationship. These are whom God has placed in our lives, and when we submit to them, we can see great success. Everybody knows that if you want to experience great success, you need to have the help of a coach. See, athletes understand this. Every good team needs to have a coach. In fact, every team has a coach. In fact, every athlete would want somebody to be his coach. It's such an important thing. Adam had God. Moses had his father in law to be his mentor. Joshua had Moses as his leader, as his coach. David sought out the advice of Samuel when he was young. Elisha stayed under Elijah and he did more wonderful things than his master when his time came. Friend, the difference between success and great success could be the fact that you have a coach, you have a mentor, and you're willing to submit to the wisdom and the guidance of your elder in your life, of your pastor, of your parent. Such an important thing. But in many cases, youngsters are biased. They are biased when it comes to receiving advice from their parents or elders or pastors, because they say things like they're from another generation. They will never get to understand what we go through. We want to do things differently. And they begin to see every elder or a parent as a villain, as a typical Indian movie villain, as if they're very evil. Now I understand that there might be a parent somewhere who is very evil, with evil intentions. Now, we are not going that direction. But given that our parents are in the Lord, and then they have been through all the things that we are going through presently, and they care for us, and they are there for us, and they love us very much, and there's nothing in the world that they wouldn't do for us. You see, we've got to have that humility and courage to submit to their leadership and receive their counsel. Every parent is not a villain. So when we say things like, oh, they are biased towards tradition. My question is, why are you biased? Why are you biased with that belief that your parent is always wrong or that elder is always wrong? No, friend. They are here as guardians of values and ethics in one of the most important things in life when it comes to marriage and when it comes to dating. We need their perspective. We need their input. Yes, they might be from another generation. They might be more traditionally inclined. But the fact is this, our values don't change. Times change, and there might be few changes in the way we do things, some inclusions and some exclusions, but the values remain the same. For example, honor is such an important value. And when there is no honor, when it comes to talking about marriage and dating, when there is no honor from both the sides, elders are very keen on that and they say, this proposal is not going to work. Why? Because honor is an important value. And you know what? When you are dating a guy, you want to marry this guy who does not have a steady source of income, who has not discovered what he's called to do in life and what his career is, and you say you want to marry that guy, parents will be very keen in saying, no, he's not the one for you. You might say things like, no, I love him very much, and if I don't get married to him, I'm not going to get married to any other person on the earth. You see, my friend, your parents are out of this situation and they have a better view. They can see that this is not going to end up well for you. They care for you. They love you. They have seen things in life. They have experienced what life is all about. And when they say things like this is not going to work for you, you better be all ears, my friend. It might be painful at the moment, but they are not fooling around. You might be playing around, with stuff like this, but parents, they don't play around when it comes to their children's life. They are serious. They know what they are talking. So I want to strongly recommend that as a youngster who wants to pursue a relationship called dating, in order to discover or find your life partner, your mate for life, then you ought to be open to the wisdom and the input and the counsel of godly people in your life, especially your parents, the elders, and your pastors. And of course, my friend, those close friends who are close to God with you, who are in fellowship with you, open it up to them. You ought to be open to their counsel and to their wisdom. And here are 3 benefits when you submit to godly leadership and mentorship. Number 1, you can learn with less mistakes, less pain, in less time. Let me say that again. When you are submitted to godly leadership and when you are humble enough and courageous enough to stay under a leader or receive counsel from an elder or a parent, especially when it comes to dating and marriage, you can learn with less mistakes, less pain, and in less time. This great man of God, Pastor Jensen Franklin, he says, there are 2 ways to learn in life. One is by mistakes and the other is by mentors. You can choose to learn by mistakes, but that's the long route, my friend. It's a long route. You have to go through a lot of pain, and in the process, you're hurting so many others also on the way. And I submit to you, it's a prideful and a foolish heart that says, I will try on my own. I will learn by my own mistakes. And that way, you are also delaying the purpose of God. But it is wisdom to say, I will submit to my mentors and I will learn from others' mistakes. And many a times, our mentors, they speak to us from their own life experiences and they can teach us from their own mistakes. And they say things like, listen, this is what I did, messed me up. I don't want you to get into that. Stay careful of those gray areas when it comes to dating and marriage. Listen, this is not good for you. This is bad for you. When they say things like that, we've got to be open ears. And we've got to say, let me learn from others' mistakes instead of making them on my own and learning in pain. Here's benefit number 2. When you are submissive to godly leadership and counsel, you need not take blind decisions in a state of emotional blur. You see, mentors can see facts. But when you are in a dating relationship, when you are in a romantic relationship, you will begin to see things through a cloud of feelings. So what happens is this: you get blind to the weaknesses of your mate, to that person you're dating. You become very blind to their shortcomings, which can be potential harm to you and your life. But these mentors in your life, when you submit to them, these pastors, elders, your parents, they are outside that realm of emotions that you are caught into. And they can see things clearly. See, they have a bird's view. You have a linear view. You are in the stuff. But they are outside the stuff, so they can see clearly. And they will warn you. And that's why it's important to have mentors. It's important to involve your parents in dating and say, this is the guy I'm going out with. This is the girl that I really like. I'm going out on a date night. And what do you suggest? And this is the background. And this is the kind of family they come from, and this is their career, and this is what they do, and this is their age, and this is the church they go to. It's very important to open yourself to the advice and the counsel and the guidance of your mentors. And here's another benefit. When you are under godly leadership and mentorship, you are under protection. Wow, this is so precious. You are under protection. Staying under somebody's shade does not mean that you are helpless or you are weak. It means that you have a protection of somebody who's gone further in life, somebody who cares for you, and somebody who loves you. To be under the shade of someone is to be under their shadow. It means protection. That's why when there's a person who's really under some strong leadership, whose parents are very responsible and they're very much involved in their children's life, you don't have these sharks coming and attacking them. You see, we don't see players attacking children whose parents are very responsible and very much involved in their day-to-day activities. But you see a child that is neglected by the parent. You see a child that is wayward. You see a teenager who does not want to submit himself to any kind of leadership. He is open to people who will play. He is open to players. If that teenage girl does not want to submit to her parents and she does not boast of any mentors, she is not submissive to church leadership or anything like that, when she is not under godly fellowship, she is now open to the sharks in the dating world. And any player, any guy who just wants to play around with her life has an access into her life. And you see, because she's not under any kind of protection, any kind of godly leadership, he feels like he can do whatever he wants. And that girl is vulnerable, my friend. When you are under godly leadership, did you know that you are under protection? When you say, my parents, they don't allow me to do that. At this age, my focus is different. You know what you're telling them? You're telling them that you are protected. That's such an important thing. You see, when there are youngsters who are submitted to their pastor, who are in the ministry, all of a sudden they have a proposal which is not the right thing for their age. You know, it could be a business proposal, could be a dating proposal, it could be something that leads to another form of relationship. But when the people that bring this proposal realize that this person is under this leadership, oh, they better think twice. Because leadership or staying under godly leadership means protection. And what do these leaders do? What do mentors do? They will warn you. They'll say, don't stay out too many hours late out in the night. Don't visit that park. Next time, don't go out too frequently. They will give you guidance in order to keep your purity while you're dating, in order to not fornicate while you date, in order to glorify God in this short-term process called dating. And they'll also help you to steer this thing towards marriage and bring about a wonderful ceremony, a covenant celebration that will lead you to another level of happiness and joy. Friend, What a blessing it is to have mentors, to have pastors, to have parents who want to get involved in their children's life. What a blessing it is. If you learn to honor your elders, or honor your parents especially, the scripture says you will live long. The Apostle Paul reminds us, he says, that's the only one commandment with a promise. All the 10 commandments, you see, there's no commandment with a promise. But there's only one commandment with a promise. It is honor your parents. Honor your father and mother. And when you honor godly leadership in your life, you are positioning yourself for great success. Not an average life, not a mediocre life, but something that impacts this generation. I wonder how many bad relationships would have been avoided if only people would have had the humility and courage to listen to their mentors, but instead, they wanted to rely on their feelings. If they had listened to their mentors, they would have less regrets in whom they got married to, the timing of their marriage, or the way they went about things. But now they have to hide their stories, from their children. And they're afraid that their children will follow after their footsteps. And they're afraid that they cannot be a good role model to their children. What happened? If only you would have listened to your parents. If only you would have listened to your mentors. Friend, here's something to remember. If your mentors don't support the relationship, if your parents don't support the relationship you're in, if your pastor says no, if your elders say no, then it's most probably not a good idea. So, allow your mentors to check you before your feelings wreck you. Get out of the relationship. Obey your leaders. Submit to your leadership. But if you say, I know better, and I'm going to go my way, well, you know what, my friend? Guess what's going to happen? You're going to go your way. And what happens when you struggle? You're going to come running back to those same people whose advice you rejected. You're going to come back to the same pastor, the same father, the mother, the elder, and say, Uncle, help me, Auntie, help me, Pastor, help me, Mummy, help me, Daddy, help me. So, you're going to come running anyways. Why don't you run to them now before the damage happens? It's always better to have a period of brokenness and pain separating from a wrong relationship than to have married that person, have years of struggle, end up in divorce and broken marriage and broken relationship and a broken life. It's always better to listen to your mentors first. So, I'm sure that this teaching, even though hard, is very true and full of truth that will change our lives. So, listen to these truths over and over again. Pass them to your friends. Share with as many people as possible. But remember, it's very vital to have a great coach and many mentors and counselors if you want to experience great success in life, especially in the area of dating and marriage.